how to sell to customers when they don't really have an obvious need. And that's why we have a brief discussion on how would you want to sell ice or snow to an Eskimo. Right, so some of the things is that if you just focus on ice and snow itself, I mean, we know that Eskimos live in an area, in a place where there is ice and snow all around, right? So if they have those resources in abundance, how are you going to sell the same thing that they have in abundance to them? Right, so this is some of the key things. So during our brainstorming, we think about what one of the questions that raised was, what can they use this ice or snow for? So if it's just pure ice or snow, obviously it's hard to sell it to the Eskimo. But if you think, if you have a little bit of diversion thinking, think something else. What can you make the ice or snow into that the Eskimo may need?
Bricks.
Right? It can be bricks, can be, well, someone mentioned about accommodation and all that. So where does an Eskimo live in?
Igloos.
Okay, so igloos, right? The little round houses made of ice and snow that Eskimos live in. It's called an igloo, right? So it could be, again, this is just pure assumption. It could be the fact that you're not really selling the ice and snow, but if you are able to provide a service to help Eskimos build igloos, while they go hunting, while they go fishing, while they do whatever they need to do, you help them to build igloos. And someone mentioned about prefabrication, prefab igloos, ice blocks. Actually, igloos are made of snow. Igloos are made of compact snow. So you need to have the snow, you need to pack it and make it compress into blocks. There are certain requirements that shape up the igloo, right, to make sure that it insulates against the wind, the cold, and make it comfortable inside and all that. So there's quite a fair amount of know-how into building an igloo. It's not just stack up ice and snow and build the igloo. So in a way, what could be possible, again, we don't know because we have never done this with Eskimos, but what could be possible is that you, in a way, you're selling ice and snow, but then you're selling pre-built igloos to Eskimos so that they can spend less time building their igloos and more time doing their fishing, hunting, and other things to improve their productivity, right? And again, we didn't mention about, we don't have to go into details like how much are you going to sell the igloo for. This is just hypothetical, and if they're going to pay you by whatever they catch while fishing, that's still a sale. Right? Someone goes fishing, you build an igloo, they come back, they pay you in fish. So that's perfectly all right. So this is just something just to get ourselves thinking about what are some of the ways that whoa, we got people here. Morning. Okay, with this. Right, so we talk about having customers that don't really have that obvious needs. Right, so I'm sitting with it's okay, all right. I can do both. Right. If we are looking at selling to people without an obvious needs, so basically we had this before you came. We had this little brainstorming to kick off, right? And how would you sell ice and snow to Eskimos? And after brainstorming, we think about instead of just selling ice and snow, we think about what does the Eskimo want to do with all this ice and snow. And one of the uses is actually to build igloos. Right, so this is just some, you don't sell them the ice and snow, but you can sell them the idea that you help them to build the little houses and they pay you for it. Right, so this is how we talk about, we look into what are some of the hidden needs of customers and then provide them with something. So, and this is Well, what we'd like to cover for this morning, we'll look into how we can discover hidden and potential opportunities. That's one part. It's not just about asking the customer what you want and what you need. We will need to have some better questioning and better ways of finding out what are some of the deeper thoughts of the customers. Number two, we would like to be also the alternative, more suitable alternative. The first part is about whether the customers has got certain needs that they may not even know. The second one is assuming that they don't really have any hidden needs for different products or different service. They may be looking for alternative suppliers. Now, why do customers want to have alternative suppliers? 为什么客户要有不同的供应商
Reduce risk.
Reduce risk, so that if one supplier were to go bust or could not supply, you have an alternative supplier to provide your goods and services. What else?
Cost down. Cost.
Cut down costs. Okay, so you can have better bargaining, right? Use one against the other. What else? One is to reduce risk. You need to have different sources. One is for bargaining. The other one, in a way, it's also related to risk, but in a different angle. Right. The first risk is about risk of what if the supplier could not supply on time, and you have downtime and so on. The other risk is called audit risk or internal risk. Right. As in, if you only have relationship with one supplier, there could be a risk of that whoever is doing the purchasing, doing some non-compliance thing with that one supplier. So if you've got multiple suppliers, it reduces that risk. Okay, and the list may go on. So this is how do you then be the alternative supplier. And the third one is if you really want to go into something a little bit deeper, and this is something that we get a bit more brainstorming. If you want to go into something deeper, you need to really understand the customer's business. You need to understand the markets that the customer operate in. You need to understand the industry that they operate in, and so on. You need to understand their customers. And why? How many of us are in a business where we deal with industrial products? Industrial products? Right. When you deal with industrial products, you sell to the customer, and what will the customer do with your products?
Further processing.
And then they process your products, and then what do they do? Sell to their customers. Yeah. Right. So that's what they do. They buy from us, they do something about it, and then they sell it to their customers. So part of what we do has to think about how can we help our customers sell to their customers. Right? If whatever we provide them, they think it's great, but for some reason they're not able to sell to their customers, it's going to be zero. Right? It's going to be back to square one. So you've got to think about what are various ways that you can get the customers to be better at selling to their customers. Or put another aspect, whatever you do, how does it benefit the customer's customer? Right? And then that requires a bit of business acumen to think about it. So these are some of the things that we want to cover for this morning. Now, when we have salespeople going out to approach our customers or approach new customers, especially when the economy that is doing now, if you're looking at China's economy right now, how is the Chinese economy right now doing? 中国经济这几年怎么样?
Still okay.
Still okay. Compared to 3 years ago?
Slower.
Slower, okay. Everything is relative, right? If you ask how's China right now, and if you ask someone who's been into business only for the last 10 years, you say it's bad. Because compared to 10 years ago, it's horrible. But then, if you compare China with Europe, right, China is at 6.7%. The worst case scenario, China will still grow at least 6%, if not more.
Which is great.
And Europe is growing at 1 or 2%. You got 2.5% that's wonderful meals in Europe, right? So this is how I look at things comparatively. Now, in any case, China, even though it's doing pretty okay, but in terms of businesses, there has been a lot of pressure to say we need to grow new accounts, we need to grow sales, we need to grow the business. Especially if you're from a European company, if you're from an American company, what's going to happen is people at the HQ, people at corporate, expect you to make up for the shortfall in Europe or the US. 就靠中国赚钱, right? So that is the mindset that's going on all around. So what that translates to the sales over here is we need to find new customers. Right? We cannot just sell to the existing customers because with the economy slowing down, the existing customers may not be ordering as much. Or worse still, some existing customers actually go out of business. Right? So the restructuring, the economy is still growing, but certain sectors are not doing well. Or that customer is restructuring and they sell a different product, so they don't really need your product anymore. They are in a different focus. All of those reasons. So there's a lot of pressure for salespeople to find new customers.
I would call it increased market share.
Yeah, increase market share, just find new customers, right? And there are definitely a lot of new customers that are still waiting to be found, for sure, right, in China. The main challenge that when salespeople go out and find new customers is that when they ask customers, how's your current supplier? Is there anything that you need to look for a new supplier and so on? The current suppliers or the customers actually are quite happy with their current suppliers. Especially when we go into a lot of sales training, different kinds of sales training. Not holding against any particular brand of sales training, just using the most famous in the market. We use something like spin selling. Right? And for spin selling, what it means is you understand the customer situation and then you need to find out the customer's problem. Right? What is a problem that the customers want to solve, and then you provide a solution, right? And you give the customers a payoff. So that's the nature of selling. But when you try to find out what's your problem, or is there anything that you want to resolve to the customer basically has got no clear problems or challenges. We are not saying that the customer is completely happy or satisfied with everything, but generally speaking, there is not much that they are unhappy about the current supplier. Right? There are no new obvious needs. Right? And that's the challenge. Of course, in terms of asking questions, there are ways of asking questions in a very direct communication culture like North America. So, but even in North America, you don't ask the customers like, what's your problem? Right? You don't do that, and worse still, if you do this in China, what's your problem? The customer's going to chase you out. So it's about how, what is the way of getting to what the customer is thinking. So these are some of the things that we may be focusing on. So instead of just looking at the here and now, do you have a challenge? Is this something wrong? Is this something that is a problem with the suppliers or with the products you have right now? They may not have a problem now, but they might have a challenge or might have a need somewhere down the road, somewhere in the near future. So what might the customers want in the future? Right? So is this something the customer may want, may need in the future? We look at somewhere further down the road. Why is it that we don't really want to focus on current needs, especially for new customers? A current customer is a new customer. You don't know them. They don't know you. This is the first meeting. And usually, we may not want to focus too much on what the customers want right now, especially when it's a new customer. And when the answer can be very cynical. If they have a current need, someone would have sold them the solution a long time ago. 如果他现在是有需求的话，这桩生意早就给人家做去。Right? If they have the current need, it will have been fulfilled by the current supplier a long time ago. Chances are they're not going to have that current burning need most of the time. Sometimes they do, most of the time they don't, and even when they do, it may have been sold to some other sellers already, or they bought from someone else already. So it's likely to be something that could be 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the road, somewhere in the not too distant future. Obviously, we are not going to ask the customer, what do you think will be your future 10 years later? That is way in advance, but we are looking at somewhere in the near future, maybe 3, 6 months, maybe 1 or 2 years, depending on the kind of industry. So we're looking at future needs. And to understand the future needs, you may also need to find out what are some of the plans they have in the pipeline. What do they intend to do to build a business, to grow their business? Are they launching new products? Are they looking into new channels, new markets, different types of customers? Are they looking to streamline their production processes and all that? So this is about what are some of the plans they have in the pipeline. It's not something that they're doing now. It could be something that they're doing somewhere in the near future. Also, this is not just the customer. What about the entire industry, the market? Are there any changes to the industries and markets in the near future? Right. So it could be something that's changing in the market. For instance, now you have we are now in this hotel, and the hotels usually, well, if it's a luxurious hotel, you sell the rooms, you sell the F&B to different segments of customers. And then a few years ago, we have this what we call cleanup by Xidada. Right? We have this all these actions about how government officials, government companies are not supposed to overspend on luxurious things, whether it's banquets, hotels, and so on. So if this is an impact on the whole industry, it's not just you, but you see that this is something that will come. What do you think the hotels will do? If they think that government officials are going to spend a lot less in your hotel, this is going to impact the entire industry. What do you think individual hotels can do? A few things. One, reduce the reliance on the government sector. I'm going to sell more to private. Right? That's something I will do if I'm the hotel. Number two, for government packages, can I have something that's of a low price? And lower, instead of the usual shark fin, abalone, and lobster, can we have just pure vegetarian? Right? Can I have a cheap menu that caters to government officials? So this are some things that happen in the market or the whole industry, and that company has to respond to it. If they don't respond to it, you may want to give them some suggestions on how best they can cope with that, with those things happening. Also, are there certain aspects that customers might have overlooked? And we'll go into this later on. This is something what we call insight. Is there something that what you know that the customer may not know but would like to know? Right, this is what we call overlook. And by the way, I see someone's scribbling notes away. That's great. The good news is that if I'm going to take one of these, if you have one of these on a table and you see a QR code over here, right? And if you use WeChat, you can scan it on WeChat. Use your phone, scan it on WeChat, and enter 10.20 or 10.20. Just scan. If you have your phone, just scan. 就用微信扫描一下，这个什么二维码，就用微信扫一下，就输入10.20，10.20。
It's 10.20.
Yes, yes, 10.20. So just WeChat, and immediately, it will have the whole PPT downloaded on the phone. Okay. changes in the whole industry. Right, so you got the slides all in the fingertips. If you link the phone to your computer, you'll be able to download on the computer if you want to. Okay, so that's just to make sure you have the slides. So if you want to find out the hidden opportunities, one way is to ask the right questions. So the questions is how is just some examples and examples that many different salespeople can use. What are the easiest questions to ask, especially in China? You know, in China, we always say that you want to go into a business meeting, you want to go to a sales meeting, you don't really want to talk about business or the nitty-gritties too fast. You want to have some kind of warm-up, some kind of rapport building. So one of the simple opening to warm up to people is, how is business? Right? Just ask them, how's business? Whether it's good, bad, growing, not growing, business is difficult. Usually when we ask customers, how is business? What do you think will be the usual responses in China these days?
Not so good.
Not so good. Getting tougher.
Yeah.
生意怎么样？越来越难做。Right. So this is the typical response from business people. And it doesn't really matter what they say. The key thing is the follow-up question: how business will be in the next 1 to 2 years. Right? So this is something that we can do very easily. It doesn't really mean that we want to go into something really deep, but it gets the customer to give you a speculation or some projection. How is it now? How it's going to be about 1 to 2 years later. It goes to, with two simple questions, it goes from a very broad question, how's business, into something that's more narrower, more specific. How things will be in the next couple of years. So that's just one way of asking. And we can, down the road, somewhere in the conversation, can ask things like, what are some key initiatives that the company will be implementing this year? Like, what are some of the things that the company will be doing? What are some of the new products you will be launching in the near future? This, of course, is what we call some sample questions. The actual fact is, number one, you are going to, throughout your different meetings with the customer, you're going to ask a lot more questions and a lot more variety of questions than this. This is just 3 simple samples. 2 is that you're going to think about how to structure your questions. Obviously, if the customer is new to you, you are not really familiar with the customer, you don't want to start your first question with, what are some of the key initiatives your company are doing? Right? It's going to frighten the customer. What are you doing? Are you a spy? Are you doing industrial espionage? There's some things to think about. There are questions to find out what's happening, but do know that you may need to spend time to build trust with the customer. You may need to spend time to let the customer know that you actually know quite a fair bit. There's a purpose in asking them those questions. There are certain things that you can do to help. Right? So these are some question samples. Besides this, now this is what we're going to do. I think we've got a little bit of time. Let's just do another activity. If you are meeting, if let's say today you are going to a new customer, right? Whether it's a cold call, the customer made inquiries, or the customer is a referral from someone. It doesn't really matter. You're going to meet a customer for the first time today. And you know that this customer is quite happy with the current supplier. Okay, this is the only thing you know. You can make the assumptions on what industry, who you are meeting, and all that. Now, I'm going to have, it's unfortunate that we don't have flip chart today, but I'm going to have you to, in your group, it's nice, got 3 groups, brainstorm what are some of the things that you would like to know about this customer. Right, you're going to, the scenario is you're going to see and meet the customer for the first time, brand new customer, right? So before you go, think through, not just about the questions yet, think about what are some of the things you want to know about this customer. Number two, how are you going to find out? Okay, just two things. Time constraint, we don't need to go through like a long list of things. So we have a full day or 2-day training, we can have a long list. So because of time constraint, let's just limit to 5 things you want to find out from new customer. Right? This is the first time you're seeing a customer. 5 things you want to find out from this customer, and then have another brainstorming on how are you going to find out the information to these 5 things. Okay, can we do it? Right? Can we have 5 minutes in your groups? Just have that brief discussion. It's gonna first meeting. What do you want to find out from this new customer? And 2, how are you going to find out? Right. Now, do we have just let's start with the first things that we want to find out from the customers first. Just let us know what are some of the things that this is a new customer, you don't really know them. The only thing that you probably have guessed correctly is they're not really unhappy with the current supplier. They're not looking to fire the current supplier. Yeah, so that's the thing you know about them. Other than that, there's nothing much to know about their needs and so on. So what are some of the things that you would like to find out from this new customer?
What is the most important factor to them when purchasing a product? Is it
Okay, what is their criteria in choosing a supplier? Okay, what else?
如果他们要找供应商的时候，或者说额外供应商，他们需要有哪些方面的一些要求，有怎么样的一些就是 criteria？
Who the decision maker is? What's the purchasing process?
Okay, what's the purchasing process? 采购流程。Okay, what else?
The decision maker.
Who are the decision makers?
Yeah.
Okay.
The timeline.
Sorry?
The timeline.
The timeline. So
Oh, timeline. Okay, if you want to buy something, when are you going to buy? Okay. What else?
it'd be great to know what they're currently buying for. Current price.
Okay, so what are they buying currently? What is the usage of those products? Anything else? Oh, this group has been very vocal, even though they got 3 people. So.
we more discuss them rather than documenting them. Something. But
It's okay, no,
we
it's
focus,
okay.
as you mentioned before, we would focus more on what is the future needs. We would like to ask specific questions.
Sure.
What is to come the next 1 or 2 years?
Okay, how will the company be in the next 1 or 2 years? Okay, what else? Okay, just to have different hierarchies of needs. If you're asking things like who's the purchasing person, who's the decision maker, if you want to buy, when are you going to buy, right? These are questions. Something that is not mentioned here, which is good, is if you ask about what is the current price that you buy, right? These are some things you may not want to find out in the first meeting. Again. In terms of timelines, in terms of decision makers, these factors are important. It's just that at this moment, you don't even know what they want. So it's hard to give a timeline for something that does not exist yet. There's no real need, there's no real want. So we're not looking at any timeline. We need to find out what are certain possibilities and then book out a timeline based on that. Right, that's one part. Number 2 is also decision makers and all that. It really depends on who's handling what materials, what projects, and so on. So it also may not be very useful to find out in the first meeting.
But I think in the first meeting I should understand to whom I have to talk to, because we have both parts of types of customers. The one is driven more by purchasing, where purchasing is making the decisions, and other customers, technology, which engineering is making the decisions.
Sure.
I think I should find that out.
Sure.
Because otherwise I'm completely on the wrong path.
Sure.
Next time.
Sure. Right. Now, very good. I mean, we're looking at who should we talk to if you are going to talk about a certain topic. To do that, the step you need to do that before that is define the topic.
Yeah.
Are you guys more focused on engineering, or are you guys more focused on sales and marketing or service? Right. So you need to have that a little bit of that direction first before we go into in depth deeper. So things like, I'm going to use some color markers. Things not to say. Use and let's. Things you don't want to say, right, or don't want to ask. In the first couple of meetings, you may not want to ask them things like price.
Yeah.
Why not? Why you don't want to go in with price?
Secret.
It may be a secret, what else? Well, sometimes they may not be secrets in the market that you operate in. Sometimes the price can be quite transparent. But you don't want to discuss price in the first meeting or in initial meetings.
Because then that becomes a focus.
That becomes a focus, unless you really, really have a very attractive price.
Yes.
Right? Unless this is your main selling point. Otherwise, you don't want to go into this yet. So you don't want to go and ask the customer, so what is the price that you buy right now? You want to avoid it. This is something that it's a no-no. Okay, put a cross over here. You may not want to ask about things like what is the current quantity that they are ordering right now. Right? Do you buy this kind of products? Yes. How much do you buy per month? When are you shipping? Right? When can we ship to you? Right? So these are things you don't want us in the outset. You can ask things on how's your current relationship with the supplier. Right? How is the performance of your current products? But it may not give you a lot of insights. It's going to give you some information. Information is going to be useful. What are your current suppliers? How are the products? How do they perform? And usually the answer is not too bad. 你们现在供应商怎么样？还好，还行，还可以。Right? So these are the usual response. You can follow up with a question by asking, what else can they do to make things better?
The indirect question.
Indirect. 现在供应商怎么样？还好。他们可以做哪些事情可以做得更好？
What do you expect? What are your
他们在哪方面可以为你做得更好？ So you can ask things like this, but if there seriously is not a lot of things that the supplier is doing badly right now, it's going to be limited. Right? If there are certain concerns about the supplier, then you may have more information. Right? So that's the part. You may want to ask. Things like plans. What are some current plans that you want to do for your business? 你打算就咱们这公司，你将来有什么打算？有什么计划？ What are the plans? Actually, before you even ask about plans. You may want to ask about their business. Let's understand the business. So tell me more about your business. And let the customer firstly understand, see you that you're really interested in the business. And the other thing is also to really understand the business and to find potential opportunities in the business. Right? So these are some of the things they do. When you build the trust and they know you, you know them, you can actually go into things like what are some of the key bottlenecks in your industry, right, and so on. But those will be later. But basically, find out what are the plans, what are the businesses. If need be, let up to ask them to talk about their industry. Right? And don't just focus on now, focus on next couple of years. What's going to happen in your industry? Right? How do you think your business will grow in the next couple of years? For the business, understanding the business, we need to understand the business as it is now. We also need to understand the business for the next couple of years. So these are some of the things we need to do. Some tips on just asking questions. Two questions can be very useful. Right? One is called ask what else. The other one is called tell me more. What do I mean by that? You ask customer something. So, how's business going to be for the next couple of years? And the customer say, oh, we'll be developing a couple of products. What else? Right? Or if they say, I'm going to develop a couple of products. What kind of products? Right? Tell me more. Okay, so these are some of the things, what else, and tell me more. These are some of the, what I call conversation enablers. These are some questions to get people to share more. Right? And since we got more guys than ladies in the room, right? The guys over here are all married? Yes? No? Okay. So, and drive? Drive? Married and drive? Okay. So, sometimes wives, usually when you're driving, your wife is beside you, and wife may keep on talking to you, right? And on things that probably you may not have any interest to know about, right? But if you don't pay attention, you will be in deep trouble, right? You're driving and all that. So, how do you pretend that you are really listening intently? Whatever your wife is saying, we're not listening, but okay, tell me more. Yeah, sure, tell me more. And usually it helps. So this is some of the things that we can do just to find out more about what customers are doing. We want to have the understanding of not just now, but what are some of the potential and hidden things that they may need in the near future. Right? They may not have something that's happening now. They could be developing new products, part of the business, part of the plans, new products in the next couple of years. They may be trying to rectify a certain product defect in the next couple of years. They may try to improve their service in the next couple of years. We don't know. So these are things that we want to explore together with the customer. And guess what? Even when you ask these questions, that customer may not even have a clear answer. They may have an idea, oh, I think we may be going to that direction. But actually what it is, that person may not even know. And it's okay. What we want to do is to go on and explore together with the customer. Not just ask customer, what do you need, but explore the customer. So if this is the current situation, what do you think your company will do to address this situation? Right. So these are some of the things that we can explore moving forward. Having said all this, this is the part on go and explore some hidden needs, some hidden opportunities that are not very clear at this moment, but you can explore together with the customer. Just now we mentioned that if the customer has got a clear current need, usually someone might have taken that opportunity. That's one. Number two, anyone here is involved in bidding, 竞标投标, right? Now, in the bidding process, kind of long story short, in the bidding process, when does the customer decide who to buy from? Before they ask for the bidding, or after they ask for the bidding?
Way before.
Before the RFP or after the RFP? 就客户啊，就是竞标的时候，客户什么时候决定跟谁买？
是招标之前还是招标之后？之前。Before the RFP, they decided, well, I mean, it's not about decided, but they have a strong preference of who to buy from, right? But because it's a big thing, so they ask for RFP. Now, the moment they ask for RFP, if you are not one of the preferred persons, you probably has got very low chance of getting the deal. That's one. Number two is when they have RFP that is being mentioned, usually the conversation tends to center around price. So you have a lot of price-driven conversation. Same thing as any kind of a sales process. 跟一般的销售一样. If the customer has got a real need, they probably are comparing the specs, they're comparing the performance, and then they're comparing price with different suppliers. So they're late, they're just, again, talking about price, eventually. So what needs to be done is to go to them earlier, where the need is not very clear. They have an idea, they have a strategy, they are looking at ways on how they can differentiate themselves from their competitors, they're looking at ways on how to make their business better. But how to reach there and what is the best product or alternative or service to do that, they are not very clear yet. That will be a good time to go in first, so that you can influence them, and they want to prefer to work with you. So this is some things to think about. Now, once you're done with the finding about hidden needs, the next thing is you can also explore whether you can be the more suitable alternative. So we were saying that customers need to have alternative suppliers, right? We need to look for different suppliers, whether it's to have better bargaining power, whether it's to prevent the risk of not having a product, etc. Customers may want to have an alternative supplier with a shorter or more predictable lead time. So it's not about you, it's not about products. Either you have a shorter lead time or you have a more predictable lead time. Now, we got Europeans, we got German products generally over here. Now, if you're a German supplier, is your lead time long or short? Generally.
A little bit longer.
Longer.
As long as we don't localize.
Okay. Usually, if you're a European supplier, you got a long lead time. But on the other hand, which is more predictable, your lead times or your competitors? Right. So the thing is that one is to have a short lead time. The other part is to have a more predictable lead times. It varies. Usually, typically, if you're looking at local suppliers, Chinese suppliers, the key thing about Chinese suppliers is the short lead time tends to be short. 供货期会很短. But the lead times may not be as predictable. So sometimes they say we can ship in 5 days. Sometimes they ship in 10 days. Right? Sometimes they ship in 3 days. So the lead times are not very predictable. Short lead times and flexible lead times are good when the customer is producing what we call smaller quantities. They are responding to quick changes in the market. So these short lead times and flexible lead times are good for them. Longer but more predictable lead times are good when the customers are mass producing. You need to have a certain huge amount of materials, and you need to have to go into production at a certain point of time. You want to have that lead time to be more predictable. When it's coming, when we can have the supplies, when we can sell out. So these are some of the things that we want to look into for the lead times. So the selling point sometimes is sometimes when we have salespeople of European companies talking to customers. The customers always challenge the European companies that your lead times are very long. It takes a long time to wait for you. So the way to counter that is, well, the lead times are longer because we have imported products, we need to have better QC, we need to have better quality checks, we want to make sure that the product has got greater stability, that's why the lead time is long. Now, on the other hand, if you are looking for a more predictable lead time, if you are looking at mass production with very, very small defect rates, this is where we can add a predictable lead time. Typically, customers will want to have two suppliers in terms of lead times. One is short and flexible, not very stable, but short and flexible. The other one is longer, but more predictable. Right? And they'll balance between the two kinds of production schedules for both. Right? It's typical behavior. Customers want to balance both. It's the analogy, not a very suitable analogy that we use, is that this is the difference between the Family Mart and the Carrefour, the convenience store and the supermarket. Convenience store is they got limited range of products, but if you are looking for last-minute deliveries, they can do it. Right? On the other hand, if you want to have great selections, lots of quantity, more predictability, that's where the supermarket is good at. Right? So this is something that we use as an analogy with our customers. Customers may want to have alternative sources of supply. Again, we want to have a risk to avoid risk and all that. Customers may want better tech support for current and potential future needs. It's not just tech support, it's a lot more things based on this. Because for just tech support, again, who will have better tech support, the local companies or the foreign company?
我们要技术服务，谁的技术服务比较强？是本土企业还是外资企业？外资企业。对
The foreign company have better tech support. So again, customers are smart. Sometimes customers are thinking, okay, I want to buy cheap, but then again, once in a while we need tech support. So how do I get tech support? I'll have some of my purchasing from a better company with better tech support, and I'll buy some of it from them. Right? So it's not because I don't like my current supplier. It's just that I want tech support. Right? That's one part. Sometimes it's not just tech support. We have a customer that they deal with slicing machines. 就是食品的那个切割的这个设备 right? Slicing machines. If you will buy potato chips, you have to slide the potato chips so thinly, mass-produced. They provide a machine and the blades to cut the potato chips and other things. So that's what they do. They're an international brand. They're big. They're well known in the food processing industry. Now there are customers who basically do this. They will buy one machine from this supplier. Let's say they need 10 machines. One of them will be this international brand. The other 9 will be the local brands. Then, what they do is they'll buy blades, the knives, from the international brand, so that it can be installed on the local brand. Right? Why do they need the first machine? Because if you don't buy a machine, you don't get the blades. Right? So you cannot just buy the blades on its own. So they have to buy the first machine, and then from there I need spare parts. And usually, if you pre-order your spare parts together with the machine, you get it cheaper. So they got 9 other similar machines local made, so they can order lots of spare parts in the first order, right? For the slicing machine. So it could be of those reasons. Again, it's not because they're unhappy with the local brand. They're happy. The local brand can do whatever they need to do. The foreign brand is better, but they don't really have that high-end needs. They don't really need that really high-quality slicing. But they are there for a different reason. Also, chemical industries. Again, there are different chemical companies that are well known in the market, depending on the industry. It can be whether it's Evonik, it can be DuPont, it can be other companies, etc. So there are customers who has got empty barrels. No, chemical industries, the product comes in barrels. So what they do is on the display is they've got the logos and the empty barrels of all these foreign, better quality, better branded companies. So it's all there. In actual fact, only about 20% of all the materials they're using is actually from all these well-known brands. But what they really want to do is to kind of create an impression to their customers that they really buy a lot from the well-known brands. Right? Again, it's nothing to do with the products, nothing to do with anything with the product performance and all that. It's just about being how you can be the most suitable alternative. Now, sometimes some managers will be quite upset when we say about, okay, you sell just 1/10 of what they need, and managers get upset. We want to make sure the customers buy most of what they have from us instead of just being the small supplier. On the other hand, you got to think about this. This customer initially wasn't even your customer. They may not even have bought from you. Right? They don't really have that strong need. Now, what you're doing is you come in, not to say that I'm going to do a better job than your current supplier, and as a result, I'm going to replace your supplier. That may be a lot more difficult to do. What you come in is, I'm going to come in, I'm going to be more humble, 比较低姿态. I'm going to be coming in as and propose that, can I be an alternative supplier? Can I be the smaller supplier? And the reason for doing that is it allows you to gain agreement with the customer easier than if you want to come and say, I have a better product, I'm going to replace your current supplier. That make sense? To go in on a smaller scale sometimes allows you to get in easier. Okay, so that's that. And also going back to the bidding, going back to if you are engaging in bidding process and all that, 如果你有竞标的话, 80% of the time the bids go to existing suppliers. 就所有的招标的这个情况，招标情况落标的这80%的情况都是给现有供应商。Right, only 20% or less is going to totally new suppliers. So if you're a current supplier, even though you are only a small supplier, it gives you an opportunity to go bigger with that particular customer. So this is the strategy of just being the alternative supplier. The third one is, to do all this, you probably may need to know more than what the customer knows, which may be a bit difficult. But you need to know more than what the customer knows. You need to have something that the customer don't know, but would like to know. And this is what we call insights.
就你是不是能够在这行业里面有一定的见解？
And what is insight? I'm going to show you this we'll call hierarchy of information that you can get. Now, if you would just get pure bits and bytes of information, what do you call them? You have bits and bytes. This is what we call the most basic, the most fundamental form of all information is data. Right? And when you organize data, what does that become? You get data that's organized. Information. Right? So organized data becomes information. And if the information is useful, what does it become?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. Right, and if you know how to apply the knowledge, if you can point a way is how best you can apply the knowledge, make full use of the knowledge, what does it then become?
Strength.
Strength, or this is what we call, this is your insight. Right, and then if you have lots and lots of insights on a certain thing, then of course become wisdom. 这个最基础的是数据，数据整合了就变成信息，信息有用的就叫知识，知识知道怎么去用这个知识叫见解。如果你有很多见解，那就得到这个智慧。Now, we are not going to impart wisdom to our customers. It's not that we are not going to do that, it's hard to do that. But what we want to do is to see what kinds of insights we can give to the customer. And this is where what I mentioned about what are some of the things that a customer don't know but would like to know. And this is our next activity that we want to go into. So what can you find out about your customers, whether it's industry, markets, and customers? And if you want to put it in a diagram, this is what diagram is like. This is what do you know about customer, what do you know about industry, what do you know about market, what do you know about customers, and anyone knows about strategic planning? If you look at strategic planning, there's this model called PEST. Right? And normally you would think that PEST is usually something that is done in MBA, very academic and not very useful. So we can have a better use for that. So we have, for the customers, the market, the industry, we also have what are some of the political landscape, government regulations. Right? Obviously it's called political. It may not sound that political, but it can be regulations. Anything done by the government, right? Or it may not be the local government, it can be your supplier. Are they having war? Right? If it's a source from the Middle East, they're having war. So it can be the political landscape that will impact on some of these. Or it can be the social/cultural landscape that will impact on the industry, the market, or their customers. The customers over here is not your customer, it's the customer's customer, right? And of course there'll be a technological impact and there'll be an economic impact. And this is what we want to do. Normally, when we have training, usually we'll get people to turn off their phones, lock the phones in the room and all that. Right? This is the time that we will need everybody to use your phone, assuming you have a smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, the computer will do as well. So I'm going to give you a little bit more time, about 10 minutes. You're going to work in groups. You may want to nominate a customer that you have in mind. Right? If your group has got people of a different industry, you may just want to brief the other group members some background of that customer. Right? That's step one. Step two, what I need you to do is to can you go online and use any search engine? Right? My suggestion is, if you are looking at mainland China information, you can go by Google. If you are looking at international information and you don't have a VPN, you can use Bing, Bing.com. Right? It's international. It's from Microsoft. It's got more information. So. Have a case, have some, let our group members know some background of this customer. And then spend some time, go online, use your phones, use your computers if you want to, go online and search about what are some of the information, some of the insights you can find out about this customer in terms, not about the customer alone, but about the industry that they're operating in, about the markets that they're operating in, and about the customers that they serve, right? We may not be focusing at all these 4 sectors. We may just say, depending on the customer, if the customer is a very techy, technology-oriented customer, maybe we'll look into the technology part. If the customer is more of a consumer brand, maybe we'll just look at the social, cultural aspect. If the customer or their industry is going to have a lot of impact because of economic slowdown and all that, then we look at the economic sector. But basically, think of the customer and then have that bring something out of the box and go into, search into your handphones, your computers. What are some of the information you can find out, not just about them, it can be about their customers, it can be about their industry, it can be their markets pertaining to one of these sectors. Right, so if we can, if there's questions, you can raise your hands and I'll come by and help you. But basically, just spend 10 minutes, brief our team members, who do you have in mind, some background, and then just go searching for the information online on those aspects. right? Just have 10 minutes to do that. And you can use a blank piece of paper, the paper on that, and just jot down what are some of the things you know. And after 10 minutes, each team, each group, why don't someone just share with us what are some of the insights you have by just spending 10 minutes of research online? Can do? Right, 10 minutes, go.
So, we have
Strain. So whatever information we have. You see, the thing is that when we are researching on this information, we may not intentionally want to go into information that will be immediately be useful because we don't know. We don't know what we are going to hit. So the key thing is just to go along those lines and see what information we get, and then choose the ones that you think will be the insights that the customer may want. Okay, so each group, can we have a representative and just share with us what you found? 找到什么呢？因为无纸化 I mean, to be fair to ourselves, 我们对自己公平的 we only spend less than 10 minutes researching. If you give us more time, I'm sure we get more information. Right? So it's just based on this initial 10 minutes. Okay?
Our factory is producing some blow molding parts, and we propose on fans as our
Okay.
customer.
Mercedes-Benz. Okay, Mercedes-Benz.
Yes, and we find some they need to purchase some automatic parts from
Okay.
China, and
Sure.
they have 2 factories in China.
Sure.
One located in Beijing and another
Sure.
located in Fuzhou.
Sure.
Yes, and many of their parts are sourced from China,
Yes.
and but some fake parts from Germany,
Sure.
and we can open the door for the
Sure.
domestic
What are
markets.
some of the information you found online? 刚才就是在网上搜到的信息。
Beijing base is mine with Daimler from Germany and Beiqi, Futian, and Fujian base is combined with Daimler and Fuzhou
Okay.
car also.
Okay. So there are some mergers of the different bands factories.
Yes,
它的几
yes.
个厂就是在做合并，
对对，北京奔驰的福州奔驰。
就是在合并。Okay, immediately just on 工厂在合并 you've got plants that are merging together, right? Some implications will be, okay, we understand that you have plants that are merging. Talk to the customer, right? Assuming that you're Benz, I'm you, I say, okay, I understand your plants are merging. 对吗？ When the plants are merging, will there be changes in your production process? You don't know. I'm just asking. Maybe yes, maybe no. Right? These are some of the things that I may be asking the customer. Or even better, if I ask an open question, what will be some of the changes with regards to your production when the 2 plants merge? 他们几家厂合并之后，对你们这个整个工序流程有哪方面的一些影响？ Right. So these are what we call insights, and we throw them a certain question. And again, that person that you are talking to may not even have thought about that. 就对方，我们这个客户这一方，他可能只知道哦，我们几个厂家合并，这个工序它的那个工作流程到底会有怎么样的一些影响，可能这个人还没意识到。But because we found this, we may have insight. We just ask a question and get the person to say, oh yeah, maybe our the way we do things may be different, and as a result, we may have more future needs. 还有吗？还有说到什么其他？
You know that the Beijing base
Sure.
中文讲吧。就是北京奔驰应该是有入股35%到福建奔驰，然后将来可能会对它的那个长期的一个，当然就是说目前的话，他们也是在可能我们了解到可能是在一个改变当中，组织架构也在调整当中。然后我们就想说，看是不是有机会在。
我们的客户是北京奔驰还是福建奔驰？
目前的话是福建奔驰，然后想说开发那个北京奔驰，因为他们现在刚好那个股权有合并嘛。然后想说看是不是会成为北京奔驰的供应商，潜在供应商这样。
Okay, so the restructuring, Beijing is going to acquire Fujian banks, and it could be a restructuring. We don't know what's going to happen, but again, it's something to ask more information. Or we can actually look into whether we can actually be one of the vendors into the Beijing band system. Maybe, hopefully, yeah, Beijing did that. Right. Over here. This is, the reason I mentioned here is because you guys use Lear, do you?
Yes.
Okay, so related industries.
Yeah.
车他们是车的那个座椅 ，Lear。
Lear Corporation.
Yes, yes.
They are the producing car seats. So what we found in internet, I just started, you maybe complete them. Lear is one of the company's top 500, number 154 exactly. We have found the stock quote. The company was founded in 1917 in Detroit. They are very much technology driven. They focus on safety features in the seats.
Okay.
They also have a very clear focus on stricter fuel economy emissions standard.
Okay.
Which is very much put from the political side.
Right. Anything else?
I think we have some.
I think economically, they are actually going downstream to buy textile firms. Yeah, so they're trying to have a solid supply for their leather fabrics for their car seats as well.
Okay.
The focus on middle class, right?
Yeah, and social. Yeah, the middle class is actually they are actually in US, Europe as well as Asia, and where the middle class is increasing, and there will be more. And because they are selling to the car companies,
car manufacturers.
yeah, car manufacturers, and the car manufacturers, the end customers are actually the middle class who are trying to aspire.
You know what, Farhan, who is the biggest customer?
I did not see, but I think it is GM.
No, it's Ford.
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 Okay.
Ford. Okay, so because we have we have an associate who used to work in Lear.
Okay.
Yeah, so no something to that. Right. So again, if you can find out what are main customers, because even for things like Ford has got different car models. Which ones use them? They also have some of the seats that go into, I think, BMW and of course GM as well.
Yes.
What models go into that? Right? What is the trend for that kind of model? 就是说你可能就我们就有时候东西就是几个独立的信息就连贯起来 ，different disparate information we kind of link them up. If we know that they sell to Ford a lot, what models? What is the target consumer for those models? Is that market growing or shrinking or whatever? Right. So this some of the information that we may not find it, but we'll try to find it. Okay. Also, even things like if you are in cars, then 政策很重要. Right. So if you're in cars, it's like okay for different, and this can be really right down to which part of China, because Shanghai may have a different regulation than Beijing. Right? Actually, not can have, does have. Right? It's totally different. Right? On what kind of cars you can buy, you can use, which one can get the license plates easier. 哪些申请牌照好申请. Right? So these are regulations which can have an impact on the customer, the market, and industry. Right? Even things like is there anything in terms of political plus technological on electric cars? Are there policies that will favor electric cars in different places, and will that somehow impact on this particular customer? So we don't know until we go and search and know what's going on. So these are some of the things that once you found out, It could be something that the customer may not thought about, but you found it, and that becomes useful to the customer.
Right.
这边呢 something
We chose Huawei.
Okay, Huawei.
It's a company that everyone knows.
Yes.
The information that we know about Huawei is they're obviously a very big company. They're rumored. Which is a mobile thing.
Yes, the phones.
Yeah, smartphones.
Good.
Yeah. So it's
It's
a very big company,
Sure.
of course. They're rumored to have links to the PLA.
Yes.
They have a research center in Shenzhen, Shanghai,
Sure.
and Beijing. They have
Sure.
7,000 people.
Yeah.
They've just placed an ad using a famous actress. I think it's Scarlett Johansson, but I don't really know.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
And another actor as well. Yes.
Okay.
Scarlett Johansson. Yes.
So they're doing a big drive towards Europe,
Mhm.
using a foreign actress. It's a way to do that.
Okay.
They aren't allowed to compete in the US for other parts of their business.
Mhm.
I think they are for mobile, but we didn't get there.
Sure.
So when we were thinking about it, we think that the way that could affect their customers, for instance, that if Huawei has import taxes
Sure.
in certain countries, then prices would be higher
Sure.
than other cell phone brands.
Sure.
In terms of how that would influence their markets if they're not allowed in the US, obviously it means that the EU would be a much bigger market for them, so we should talk to them a bit more about the needs of EU customers as opposed
Right,
to
okay.
North American
Okay.
customers.
Now, if you want to do a research on that, sometimes we think about maybe the research shouldn't be on Huawei itself. Maybe it should be on how does people in EU select the phone. Right. So if Huawei is a customer and you want to do something with them, and you want to find out something about the markets in EU, customer, its economic related, its customer preference in EU. How does people in EU select the phones? What kinds of phones appeal to EU buyers? What kinds of preferences, features that phones have? Right. Second thing is we can go online and find out how does people in EU buy the phones. So it's about marketing channels. Do they buy in the store or do they buy online? How it is? What is the general perception of Huawei as a brand in EU? Right? So these are information that you can find probably online. Right? Somehow you dig this information. So once you get this information, you can go to Huawei, assuming that you are doing some business with Huawei, and say that, we made some simple research, and this is what we found out. These are some of the things that we think, well, not we think, these are some of the information we found about your industry in that market, and it's going to impact your customer. This is the first line. The second line is, what are some of the things that we can do to help you to reach that goal? So this are what we call when you do the different research and then see what are some of the things that may be overlooked, not just by us salespeople, it also may be overlooked by the customer themselves. Right? If you're Lear, if you're Huawei, if you're Benz, you probably know everything about manufacturing their products. They will know that. Right? 就如果你去各个厂家，就是厂家本身对它制造他们的这个产品肯定很懂， but they may not know what's happening outside of the company that may have an impact on them, right? Which may have a hidden need for us. Right? So this is where we look into different angles and see if there's something we can do with this customer. Make sense? Now the thing is, you may not always find something useful. 不是说每每要找什么信息，你肯定就找到一个重大信息，然后就找到一个切入点，马上就能做成。Right? You're not going to do that, hit that every single time. It's just a matter of how we actually expand our sources of information so that we see whether we can get more insights and then try to see if there are hidden needs that we can fulfill. Right? This is one way of giving us more choices, more alternatives, get better information. 我们可以有不同信息的一些渠道。Okay, this is one part. The other thing that salespeople need to know is about financial acumen. I mean, we're not going in depth on this, but salespeople, you need to know what goes into a balance sheet, 资产负债表. Right? You need to know how to read cash flow. You need to know profit and loss statements. You are not going to be the accountant and do it, but you need to know how to read these things and what are the implications. Things like, can a profitable company go out of business? 如果公司挣钱，会不会倒闭？
也会
为什么？ If yes, why? If a profitable company,
现金流断了。
if you run out of cash, you are out of business. Okay. The other reverse can also be true. A company can be not profitable and still be in business. Right? I mean, it may not be in business for a very long time, but it can still be in business because it's got cash. Right? So these are some of the simple things that we need to know, and how whatever solutions we structure to them, how does it help them in different aspects? Does it help them in managing their cash flow better? Does it help them in what we call reducing their production costs in general? Or it helps them to get more business? We talk about companies using foreign companies' brands as their barrels outside. Why do they do that? It helps them to get more business. Right? So these are things, just know what goes on in the customer's business. That's about the plans. We need to know business. Right? Part of it to know about that business is if you have a good understanding of some financial terms, how they interact with one another, it's going to help you to advise the customer. Look, instead of if you do a certain way, you may reduce the price that you pay, but maybe certain part of your costs increases. You use a cheaper part, you reduce price, but the cheaper part may actually increase your maintenance costs. Right? If somehow you are able to either, if it's a public company, you will see how much you spend on maintenance. 如果是上市公司，这些信息都能得到。Right? So you can see what are the key costs. If it's a private company, you can just ask through the question how much you spend on maintenance. Right? This is what we can ask, and we can say, oh, your competitor in a different place, they spend about 30% less in terms of maintenance compared to you. Right? Maybe that's what we found from them. So could it because that you use a cheaper product, it results in higher maintenance costs? So these are some of the things that we can explore and look into. Is this something that we can do for the future? Right? It all goes back to the first question: how do you sell snow and ice to an Eskimo? 对爱斯基摩人怎么去卖冰雪？ It's not ice and snow. It's to look into what do they need. Right? If you help them to build igloos, they can spend more time fishing and hunting. Right? And I mean, the Eskimo doesn't have a P&L like this, but it is their business. Their business is to hunt and to fish. 爱斯基摩人他基本上就是为什么要造那个冰屋呢？就是他到野外去钓鱼跟打猎捕猎。Right, so if you're able, theoretically, if you're able to build the igloo for them, they will spend more time fishing and hunting. They may be able to fish more, hunt more, or may be able to return home earlier, or whatever it is. It's going to improve their productivity. Right, so these are some of the things that we look into. What is the business of the customer, and explore what are some hidden needs. So far, questions?
One
Yes.
question on that actually. So maybe a difficult one. I find in China that a lot of the times when you come in, especially if it's a first meeting,
Yes.
and you try to talk about plans and ask questions,
Sure.
and ask open questions,
Sure.
it usually lasts about 2-3 minutes, and then they're like, okay, show me your presentation.
Sure.
And I think everyone knows, I think that that's the way to do it, and I think people acknowledge it's the way to do it, but in reality it's very, very difficult.
Right.
Do you have any suggestions on how to get people to allow you to ask questions and allow you to talk when
Sure.
what they want to see is just your presentation?
Sure, sure. I mean, in previous sessions, we talk about how to ask questions when customers are not willing to talk.
Yeah.
Yes. So part of the thing is, number one, you may not get all you need in just one sales meeting. Right? You are going to have some questions in the first meeting, and then some questions in the second meeting. It's an ongoing process. So you don't need to put yourself into way too much pressure to say I need to find everything about the customer in one meeting. It may be possible, but it's unlikely. Right. Two is when you approach the customer, you may want to think about how to build trust with the customer first.
Yeah.
All right. So again, we don't have a slide over here. Just I'm going to go green and save a little bit of paper. So I'm going to use the bottom part. So you want to build trust. There are basically, depending on different models, it's got different ways of building trust. Mine is the simplest. Customers are going to trust you based on two things, right? It's either they trust you because this is about trust. Customer trusts you for your integrity. And your ability. 这个客户为什么信任你呢？是第一个是你的那个真诚度，第二个是你的能力。Right, just two main factors. There could be other factors like the time frame of the relationship, how intimate you are, and so on. We're just keeping things simple. How do you have good integrity? Do you have good ability? And how do we mean by integrity? 什么叫真诚呢？真诚跟诚实有区别吗？ What's the difference between integrity and honesty? 有区别 Right. Again, just to cut the time short, honesty means tell the truth. Integrity, in a way, in the context of you and the customer, is about thinking for the customer. I'm going to sell a product to you, but it's going to be something that I think is useful for you. I'm not going to sell a product to you just because I'm going to hit my sales target. Right? The reason I'm having this product is with the integrity is I really, really think this is good for you. Right? That's the integrity. I will not sell too much because you don't need that much. I will not sell too little. I will sell the right amount because it's really something that's for you. Right? So that's the thing to be aware of to build up the initial trust. So which is why all the more you don't start with things like, oh, do you need this product? How much do you need in a month? When can I start shipping? Right? If you start with this is all about focusing on yourself. You're not on the customer, and immediately the trust is gone. Right? So that just to verify that part, which is why we want to show that. You can say, oh, how's business? So the reason we are here today is just to find out if there's a better way to work things out. Right? So this is the part. You may also need to tell your customer what they call such this before you even ask questions. You may even need to tell your customer what is your what is the valid objective of your meeting? What do you want to achieve in this meeting? Right? You are meeting a customer, yes. If you don't tell a customer what is the purpose of the meeting, the customer is going to think that you are someone coming here, try to sell me something, get my money, and run away. 就客户跟销售嘛，总有一个隔阂。你要是跟他说我找你有什么目的、什么目标，这客户就想啊，你不是销售啊，销售来干嘛呢？卖产品，然后呢拿钱，然后走人。Okay, so that's how customer think. So by valid objective, there are some criteria. You need to let the customer know, is there something that you want to help them to It's not what you want to achieve. It's what I want to help the customer to achieve. Is that something that I want to help you to achieve? Or I want to help the customer to resolve, or I want to help the customer to avoid. This is the reason I'm here today, is just to find out, is this something we can help you achieve better productivity? Or I do understand that in your industry there is issue with cost cutting, and I just want to help you resolve issues of overcost. Or we know that there's a new regulation coming out, we just want to make sure that you can avoid the negative things that could happen because of new regulation. Right, so this is how we frame the meeting. Just let the customer know why you are there. And the reason for you being there is not because I want to make the sale from you. The reason you are there in a meeting is we just want to talk and see if there's something that we can help you achieve. Or is there something we can help you to resolve a certain problem? Usually, as a first meeting, the most likely one is this. Right. In subsequent meetings, you have a lot of trust. You can say, how can I solve a problem? In the first meeting, it's more of really looking at what can be better. It's more like achieve. Sometimes it can be avoided because you know that something is coming up and it will impact the entire industry. Things like rising costs, right? Issues about not able to get enough manpower. 人力成本招不到人，这是在客户行业里面可能是比较普遍的。So we want to help you to avoid the repercussions of rising human labor costs and not being able to get the right people. So these are some of the things to get to the customer and build the trust, and then we ask questions. Yes. Any further? Yes, one more.
刚才的话，你提到有一个说，就是在招投标的时候，可能就是说可能在那个投标的现场，其实在这之前的话已经做完这样的一个 decision。
是。
所以的话就是说，刚才你又提到另外一点，就是说可能是一般情况下是有80%的这样的一个就是标的的话是给到就是已经存在这样的一般
供应商。
对，然后那个如果是这样子的话，就是说那怎样去，比如说有哪几个点，然后去可以做那20%的一个new的一个 bidding。
Oh, okay. Sure. Question is now 80% of the bids are awarded to existing customers, existing suppliers. So if you're at 20%, how do you go into? The first thing is there a way to be a supplier before the bid? 能不能做一些就是非招标的一些单子，这样你就是上 vendor 嘛 ，right? Can you sell something cheap, low that doesn't go to the bidding process, and you can be the supplier? You are in the vendor code, so that's the first thing to do first. The other thing is if you are going in from the cold, unless you have something that no one else has, and it is very important to the customer. And even one more that's more important is that you got something that no one else has, it's important, and when the customer is And when the customer is drafting the RFP, they have not thought about it. 你要做那20%的这个情况 if you want to get 20% new suppliers win a bid, usually it's something that no one else has. You propose something. All right. Number 2, the customer realizes it's important to them. Number 3, it is a surprising fact to them is because during the RFP they did know they need this. And then suddenly they know. And then you are the only guy that has this. And you win. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. That's why it's only 20%. Right? So that's why. So the easier way is before the customer goes into bidding, sell something else to them. When you sell something else, even it's a very small volume, it's insignificant, it allows you to talk to the customer, find out how's business, what plans do you have in the future. Are you going to launch a new product? You have not done your RFP yet, great. What are the specs you are considering? Can we give you our specs? You know, the best thing about bidding is if your specs has been copied and pasted into the RFP, you are very much likely to win. 如果你的一些系数、你的一些产品的一些特质特征被客户就是山寨到他的那个什么那个招商通知里面，你的胜算应该比较高。They could find other copycats to copy you. They could be, but in terms of all averages, you are likely to have a higher chance of win. 就他有可能就是山寨你的东西，然后让别人来做，就是有这样子的一个可能性。但大致情况是，他如果山寨你的点子，通常就是你那个标应该是会比较倾向的。So that is why a lot of times the decision or the preference to choose a certain supplier has been made before the RFP is released. Right? It's not just a China thing; it's a global thing. This is a research not in China. This is research, a global research by a bidding company called Shipley. 就有一家就是专门做竞标咨询的公司叫 Shipley。And they did it with PwC 跟普华永道一起来就是做这样子的一个调研。So they got all the actual bid results and everything from the bidding results. They got the information, and this is the conclusion they found. So it's not just a China thing that things are decided before we go for RFP. It happens everywhere in the world. 全球不是我们内定，就全球都有一种倾向，然后就希望就是能够促成。Right, because of time constraint, I can still be here. I don't want to hold those who need to leave. This is now 10:37. We understand that we started late. There's a horrible traffic jam this morning. Thanks for holding on to that traffic jam. As in, normally when there's a traffic jam, sometimes people say, "I'm stuck in jam." Okay, I'm late, so I'm not going. 我已经迟到了，就不去。Right, so sometimes it happens. So thank you for going all the way and be here despite a very, very massive traffic jam this morning. Right, the next, especially our friends from Kunshan, who set off from Kunshan at 6:30 in the morning. So yes, I don't know what time you wake up, or you slept in the car. Right. So thanks for coming. Just some heads up on next topic. This time around we're going to have the sales topic. Is what it is. Next month is going to be, if it's a breakfast, it's going to be on the 23rd November. Non-sales topic is going to be the 5 dysfunctions, the 5 characteristics of highly dysfunction managers. the top 5 factors, the top 5 mistakes of bad managers, highly dysfunctional managers. 做的比较不靠谱的经理的一个5大那个失误。Right, so it's about good management practice and bad management practice and how we can have a better management practice. So that, if you're interested in that, that will be on the 23rd of November. And if you are in Chinese workshops, we usually have half-day Chinese workshops. 半天下午那个中文的上午。So we should have one on EQ. That's it. Emotional intelligence for highly effective managers. That should be on either 16th or 18th November in Shanghai. If you'd like to know EQ, that will be in mid-November. Right? Right. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming all the way. Again, if you have further inquiries, want to have a chat, we'll still be around. And if you need to go, hopefully the jam has eased now, and have a good journey.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you.
Thank you.